This is the Bronx. You've probably heard about it. You may even have a pretty solid image in your head of what it looks like, what it is like. Or maybe you can't picture it at all. The South Bronx sounds familiar as a bad thing, and the Bronx at one time was said to be burning, wasn't it? For the most part, the Bronx is overlooked, the never-visited borough in New York City, which is a shame because the Bronx is a magical place with its own energy, its own food, vibe, and rhythm. You've been to Brooklyn. Maybe it's time you took a look at the Bronx.
In August of 1973, the sister of DJ Kool Herc was holding a birthday party for herself in the basement of 1520 Sedgwick Avenue. As Kool Herc was playing the music on his 2-disc turntable, he began to slow the music down, slow the record. People stood up and took notice, and they began asking him to do it again. He did it again. They asked him to do it again and again. He did it again. He attracted more and more people to his performances, and people began to imitate him. And that was the beginning of hip-hop music. It started in the Bronx.
Moody's Records. Inside, rummaging for records just like he used to do, is the man, the legend, one of the very select few who started it all, who created the sound that hundreds of millions of people now claim as their own. Google who created hip-hop. Go ahead. You get DJ Kool Herc. It's a national landmark now, isn't it? Sedgwick?
No, it's not. We're working on it.
Working on it.
We're working, but it's
Matter
still,
of time.
it's still the birthplace of hip-hop, undisputed, because I didn't start it with 4 guys in a club. I was inside a residential building. At the time, it wasn't really receiving the building. We had a watchful eye over the recreation room. So she was watching for any disturbance. It never happened. And that's how it survived, because good music sells itself. Good drugs sell itself.
Yeah.
Good anything sells itself. And this was something good.
Was there a moment when you realized, whoa, this is big. This is going to be, this is going to spread way beyond my neighborhood?
I never look at that. I saw the spreading, but when I see Bourdain Rebel and Fred Flintstone, rest up like Jam Master Jay, you know, the DMC fellas. When I see that, to sell commercial in Madison Avenue, I know it was going. It was going. It don't take a big lift. So let's say I don't have money and all that. Nah, I'm rich in other ways. When Time magazine said what music was created inside the United States, you got Louis Armstrong for jazz, you got Elvis Presley for rock and roll, which I could be between him and Chuck Berry, and you got Kool Herc for hip hop.
Feel good?
Very good.
Historically, from the last third of the 19th century into about 1920, the second language spoken in the Bronx was German. From about 1930 to about 1960, the second language spoken in the Bronx was Yiddish. From about 1965 onward, the second language spoken in the Bronx is Spanish, and that's the way it is today.
It's got a reputation as a tough place. Crime, street gangs, a lot of which goes back to the way it was, and some of which, well, like I said, it's got a reputation as being tough. The Bronx is, let's face it, a big blank space in a lot of people's minds. Even people like me who live, 10 minutes away? We don't know anything about that big area between Yankee Stadium and the Bronx Zoo. What you should know is that the Bronx is big, really big, and that it's a patchwork of ethnic enclaves, a cross-section of the whole world. Every immigrant group you could think of. Justin Fornal, a.k.a. Baron Ambrosia, has taken it upon himself to serve as the Bronx's culinary ambassador.
Let the dinner begin! This is the porcupine.
An evangelist for the cause of introducing the manifold, splendiferous delights of this mighty borough to the ignorant, well, like me.
No.
He's got a show on the TV, and he throws parties where he serves creatures that would make Andrew Zimmern turn gray and slump unconscious to the floor. Showman iconoclast, explorer, and gourmet.
Bronx is so multifaceted, but for some reason, this is the first place I always take people, because this just oozes and emanates kind of that flavor of the Bronx.
And he knows what I like. Places like this. 188 Cuchifritos on 188th Street in the Grand Concourse. Old school, New York, Puerto Rican good stuff. Get within 20 feet of this place and prepare to lose your freaking mind.
The cuchifrito itself is basically fried pig. The ears and the tongue chopped up and deep fried.
So off-cut pig parts, deep fried?
Deep
What's
fried.
not to like about
Right.
that? The shank there?
Yeah, the pernil, the shoulder, we're gonna get that in there.
Oh, yeah.
Big piece of chicharron, the skin just chopped up.
So skin,
fat.
skin and fat.
Yeah. It's almost like a little meat candy bar.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Some morcilla.
Morcilla for sure.
Always morcilla.
And then what else? We need some plátano.
Yeah.
Puerto Rico, I miss you.
The Bronx to me became the place where I could really engage my bacchanalian sensibility. You know,
Right.
you could really just come here, eat, drink, wine, woman, song, and just indulge.
This is pretty much the center of the pork universe as I've ever seen it in New York. I don't know any place porkier than what I'm looking at.
This is exactly the kind of thing I thought we'd lost in New York, that one after the other faded away in the neighborhoods I lived in. And all along, it was there, right underfoot, a gusher of porky goodness.
I mean, there's a great line, which is, they say in France, Switzerland, c'est le Bronx, which is, you know, what do you think, this is the Bronx? And, you know, this idea of if, you know, the music's really loud or someone's making a mess. To me, I take that as a point of pride. To be the Bronx is where the music is loud. The Bronx is where the men are tough, the women are sexy, the food is spicy. If those things weren't true, you wouldn't know what the Bronx was.
So its bad reputation is what protects it.
I think the
some
perception,
extent.
the perception of it being a place where the funk is alive.
An incredible spread.
Yeah, man, this is great. This is one of the places you'll just kind of dream about it. Like, was I really there? I'm going back. I'm going to go back just to make sure that place was really there.
I can't lay off this pork. It's insane. I'm actually going to get it to-go order.
People from all over the world reside in the Bronx. As a matter of fact, we have residents from every continent on the face of the earth. And if you count the penguins in the Bronx Zoo, that includes Antarctica.
The wellspring of hip-hop is right around here, a mostly Jamaican community in Bronx River in the South Bronx. Jamaicans began arriving here back in the 50s, and still today, Jamaican food, Jamaican culture, the music is all over. Sundial International Headquarters, makers of traditional tonics and herbal remedies, a Bronx institution since the 70s.
This is one of the ingredients. This is the mahogany bark. This one is used for any type of bodily weaknesses.
Baba Rashan Abdul Hakim, or Pops Baba as he's called, a grassroots bush doctor, healer. He uses recipes passed down from mothers and aunties, blends of roots, spices, herbs, barks, and woods.
If you take the wood root in the morning and the bitters at night, don't care what is wrong with you, you're going to show improvement.
Whatever ails, he's got a cure. Wood root cure for the blood, the body, the nerves. Coromantee, an intestinal cleanser, and traditional African man-back. Helps you get your manhood back, among other things.
It was about 1956 when I came to America. So I used to make it in the apartment in Bronx River. And then when I'm boiling roots, the whole project smell of this roots. They used to jive them. hey, what your father doing in there? What kind of focus in there doing, you know what I mean? And I'd buckle it and go on the corner and I'd sell it in the Bronx. Never leave. The Bronx is the best place in America, man. Nowhere like the Bronx.
In the yard out back, some freshly roasted coffee. And this man, a Tyrannosaurus Rex of music, a man who changed the world for generations, Afrika Bambaataa. Bambaataa and Pops Baba go back together to the same housing projects.
You know James Brown record, Papa Don't Play No Mess?
Yes.
Well, that's the Big Baba. Brother Rashad, that's right.
He and his associates in the Zulu Nation were absolutely instrumental in shaping what became hip-hop culture. Breakdancing, graffiti, DJing, and rap.
Is the story true that you soak your records in water and you take the label off?
Oh yeah, so either we put tapes on it or we soak the label off. You know, you had spies in each other camps, you know, trying to find out what was that beat Bambaataa playing. So I used to soak it up. I used to put tape to cover the records, and we was digging in the crates hard.
You were unusually voracious in your musical taste. Of all the records in the world, how did you come upon Kraftwerk?
I came about digging in the crate down in the village. I said, this look type of weirdo here. So when I took it home and I heard this sound, I said, whoa. I said, this is some funky, I said, man, this is some futuristic type of funk here, whether they didn't know they was doing some style of funk. And thus came the birth of the electro-funk sound, the Miami bass sound. And since the beginning, we always paid tribute to James Brown, Sly and the Family Stone, and George Parliament Funkadelic Clinton for bringing the funk from which the hip-hop came and the reggae, and to, you know, all the pioneers of hip-hop.
Up north a ways in West Jamaica, another working-class community where subway service is pretty limited, and yet people have to get up, go to work, and often make the long hump to another borough. Afterwards, a person could use a drink. And if you're a Jamaican person, you could use the everyday go-to drink of back home. Any time of day or night, Ray and Nephew.
Ray and Nephew is a very strong Jamaican white rum that we use for everything from baby fever to drinks. Here in this bar, you get it with cranberry juice, with milk, and water. What water would be in any other borough is what Ray and Nephew is in the Bronx.
Cheers.
Desus is one half of the brilliant podcast team Desus versus Kid Mero. It's a very fast, free-form riff diatribe on life in the Bronx and what's happening on the news, in hip-hop, or last night.
Growing up in the Bronx, you're isolated from the rest of the city. You know what I'm saying? So the other city had like city bite. The Bronx doesn't get any of that. We're kind of abandoned up here. People get on a boat and go to Staten Island before they ride up to the Bronx.
I gotta reluctantly have to being part of that problem.
Yes. People always say, you know, the Bronx is eventually gonna be gentrified. That's not happening anytime soon. Like, it's not. Like, you know Barry. This is the owner right here. This is the man right here who made today possible. Thank you.
I am happy here, and I will drink more of your Ray and Nephew, regardless of what it might be doing to my brain. But then I will eat.
Is that the, what is this, pork foot?
Pigtail, yeah.
Right?
Awesome. Oh, hell, I love this. Oh, damn, that looks good. People sort of stopped paying attention to the Bronx when it wasn't burning anymore. When Fort Apache was something we didn't have to think about.
Yes. Let's just say that this is the neighborhood where they perfected stop and frisk.
Right. And you remember your first time?
I remember my first time.
How do you feel first time stop and frisk?
I cried. And that summer, 15 times, stopped and frisk. Just thrown up against the gate, fingers through our genitals, as cops looking for guns. But you remember that. You remember your first time. When you lose your stop and frisk virginity. You know, you remember it.
I've never been stopped and frisked.
I wonder why. What is it? Is it because you have a CNN show, or is it just...
I've been arrested.
If you hang around here long enough, I can get you stop and frisk.
They talk about DIY culture, about do-it-yourself. And you better be able to do it your damn self in the Bronx, because often nobody else is going to do it for you.
When you go in the Bronx, you're basically going back in time. There are certain crimes that will happen here that are not going to happen in Manhattan and Brooklyn. You know?
Okay, it's an obvious question.
Purse snatching.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. So there's still crackheads in New York City?
There's still crack. There's literally crackheads in front of that bodega over there, and they are getting their cracks, and they're not bothering anyone.
Man.
And you know the thing is, they are respectable parts of this community. You see them every day. There's literally a crackhead that's been here for 25 years.
That takes some determination now.
Listen, if I could be a crackhead, I would be the best crackhead possible.
I was
That's
a
what these
crackhead,
people are doing.
and
Listen, we've all been there. You know, no judgments.
Hey guys.
Hey, what's up?
All right. Look, I'm thinking curry goat.
Jesus' Uncle Vernon used to own this place, but that was 3 owners ago. Now it's Lammy's, and Lammy took over from some people who put too much cinnamon in their curried goat, which, as we all know, is a sin against God. Lammy fixed things. Curried goat and stewed oxtail, with rice and peas, collards, and yes, mac and cheese. I can't resist.
Man, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. There's a lot of good food in the Bronx.
There is. If people would, get over their bias and come above 96th Street, they would find out.
I mean, if the Bronx were a neighborhood of Manhattan, sort of shrunk down, you'd have hipsters crawling all over.
Oh my God. If you live in the Bronx, it's not necessarily that you're going to ever leave the Bronx to go to Manhattan, because everything you want, everything you need is in the Bronx. So why would you go past 149th Street? So all that, repping my neighborhood, the ethnic pride and all that stuff, people definitely hold on to that. And that's definitely true of Rylander Avenue, the Italians, the doo-wops, all that stuff. Even this neighborhood was all white until the 50s. It's very recent, the whole immigrant experience.
Who lived here in the 50s?
All white people.
What kind of white people?
White, like we enjoy milk white, like that kind of thing. We're kissing dogs on the mouth. But it's moved forward. Now you have this, and there's definitely this whole, I'm from 233rd, you're from 225th. Every ethnic group that lives in the Bronx has that, and I think the next group that's gonna take over here is definitely Mexicans. And the thing is, it's an immigrant neighborhood, so it's not a matter of who owns it, it's who owns it at what particular time, and they're next. And I'm looking forward to that, because I enjoy a good quesadilla. So.
Yeah.
But I made a good decision. I came to Lammy's today, so.
Yeah, it was a good move.
Lammy's, let's big up Lammy's.
Big up Lammy's. Lammy's, though, I'm here all the time. I'm always here. I live right there, so I'm always here for the curry goat, for the mac and cheese, Lammy's don't play, man.
Take the 6 train to the end of the line. Then do the same with the number 29 bus. Technically, you'll still be in the Bronx, but it kind of won't feel like it. City Island is a fishing village turned what? A parking lot for pleasure boats and a long-established restaurant row for New Yorkers.
Picked the perfect day to come out here.
Jesus says this place, and Jesus is always right.
How far from your neighborhood? By car?
By car, maybe 15, 20 minutes.
20 minutes?
It seems like a world away.
Yeah, but it's kooky. I want to buy some nautical bric-a-brac while I'm here. This is New York City?
This is Cape Cod in the Bronx. Many of my childhood memories are getting all excited to come out, and we get there, and they're like, oh, the beach is closed because of medical waste. It's not a day that you go in the water and come out with like a maxi pad stuck to you.
I've been there. So you were here like yesterday?
I was literally here yesterday.
Wow.
For my sister's graduation, because every time you have an event of note in the Bronx, you have to come celebrate in City Island.
I noticed all the big catering halls.
Yeah. If you get married, you get arraigned. If the baby's not yours, you come here.
Seashore Restaurant, a massive fish factory on the water of a type I'm very familiar with, having started my cooking career in one just like it.
Oh, now see, this, yeah.
I'm also a sentimental fool, and I love this kind of thing. Steamers, a true taste of childhood. Boiled striper and some snow crab and a nice cold beer? Yes. Thank you, Jesus.
It's like a knighting ceremony. Just kind of sit up and you're just like, just take it all in.
Enjoy, guys.
Thank you. I could have done that myself, but to have someone else
That's
do it,
part of it.
It's part of the ambiance. This is the perfect place for a date, but it's the worst food for a date. It's either a huge turn off or a huge turn on. Like, it might give a lady a preview of what they're about to get into.
Right.
You know, a little bib, a little sucking action. Just let them know, you know, in an hour this could be you.
Wow. I've been missing all my life. This is pretty awesome. Huh?
Saturday night, City Island, that's where people are going.
The first European settler to come to the Bronx came in 1639. His name was Jonas Bronck, B-R-O-N-C-K. In 1874, all the area west of the Bronx River was annexed to the city. And in 1895, all the areas east of the Bronx River was annexed to the city. Then in 1898, the city decided that the two areas previously annexed should also become a borough. But what to call it, since it never had a name before? They looked at the map, and right smack through the middle of the territory ran the Bronx River, so they named it after the river, the borough of the Bronx. And that's why it is called the Bronx, and not just plain Bronx.
If you have a question about the Bronx, chances are Lloyd Ultan has the answer. Born and raised here, he's never really left for over 7 decades. This is a disappearing aspect of New York for sure. The real thing Jewish deli. Liebman's is one of the last. There used to be dozens of places where you could get your brisket, chopped liver, a good pastrami, some pickles, with a black cherry soda or a celery, of course, to drink.
The World Series is going on. Howard Cosell is on the air. Suddenly you see a tongue of flame licking up into the sky. And he says, "This is the kind of thing that Jimmy Carter saw. Ladies and gentlemen, the Bronx is burning." The old image of the Bronx as middle class, upwardly mobile, healthy area had survived up until 1977. This shattered it.
Right. The Bronx was burning, went the story, and that stuck. Politicians making the South Bronx a poster child for what was hopelessly wrong, would always be wrong, would never, we were told, get any better.
So we now have what you call a slumlord, essentially.
Yes, right.
Who's snapping up large numbers of buildings.
Yeah, first of all, he takes out a huge fire insurance policy. So as he goes to these junkies, and he says, "Listen, you see that empty apartment on the top floor? I'm gonna turn my back. You take all of the lead pipes that are in there, but I have one request, please. Before you leave, turn on the water." And the water comes down, driving everybody else out. They then hire an arsonist and sets fire to the building. They collect all the money and they leave.
I remember it well. I remember those years. Things were bad. Are things borough-wide? Are things getting better?
Is the Bronx better? Absolutely. There is more home ownership in the South Bronx than had ever existed in history. That doesn't mean that we have reached utopia. We have not. How long it will take? I'm a historian. I look in the other direction. I would say my crystal ball is cracked.
I got 4 cheeseburgers for the Bronx.
Is it the best hamburger in the world? Far from it, my friends. Is it even, strictly speaking, a burger? I mean, it's small and square and steamed. It can be, especially when you eat a lot of them, as one tends to, a hate-yourself-in-the-morning experience. But if you grew up with White Castle, like I did, and like Handsome Dick Manitoba did, this connects with some deep dinosaur part of the brain, evoking a powerful emotional response.
These are a great cultural part of my childhood. We'd come here 24 hours a day. There were guys on their dates. There was a bunch of punk rock kids. So along with that potpourri of humanity I just described, you had these guys from the mental institution.
That's community for you.
That was the Bronx. That was the Bronx, man. It was great.
Maybe you know Handsome Dick from such pre-punk legendary bands as The Dictators. Dick grew up, where else? The Athens, the cultural geyser, the font of art and music, that is the Bronx. And back in the day, like me, this was his special, warm, and happy place.
I can go by and eat a full 2.5-hour meal, be stuffed, and see someone eating a White Castle. I still want one. You can forget Mickey D's, you can forget Burger King, you forget all those places. If you need a White Castle scratch, none of the cheap places will do. I can't stop eating these.
The Bronx Academy of Letters is something of a cause for me, an institution whose mission I see as absolutely vital if kids, like these kids, from a tough neighborhood, often coming from tough family situations, are going to do the things that they're capable of having the things they want. I believe that there is no way to realize your dreams if you can't articulate them, if you can't, with words, convince others to give you the opportunities, the chances you need to grasp. So I wanted to talk today, really, I'm going to tell you in a short period of time, everything I know about writing. Today, I'm dropping by in my role as substitute teacher. I'm from Manhattan, and I don't know anything about the Bronx, really. I'm ridiculously, shamefully ignorant. Do you think people know about the Bronx, what it's like to grow up in the Bronx?
Everybody perceives the Bronx as the emergence of hip-hop and all that, the culture. But apart from that, the Bronx is actually lively at all times, at night, in the morning. You hear people screaming from outside your window.
I've grown up with them since I was, what, like 6? Yeah, you know, and it just happened that way. So I feel like the sense of community is like the biggest thing.
I've been teaching here for 8 years, and I think that what people forget is a lot of times, we've talked about this in class, they focus on lots of diseases, health issues, lack of education, but I can be out with them just walking to the train to go to a field trip, and they say hi to at least 30 people. They know everyone.
What other Bronx specialties should I be paying attention to?
Well, I don't know, I've always been a fan of McDonald's.
Mm-hmm. That works for you?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, bacon tastes really good.
I like bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich.
Yeah, well, that's a classic. That's a New York classic. The sort of bodega classic. Bacon, egg, and cheese. Love that.
Now you walk outside and they have like the Italian ices.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as like the weather gets nice and you hear coquito, dame, like I think that's the first thing.
So what is it you're eating? What is chopped cheese?
Yeah.
Chopped cheese.
What is chopped cheese? I have to see. Where does this come from, this mutant cheese? This thing, whatever it is, it'll do just fine. As long as you're reading Orwell's essays while you're eating it, kid.
I think it was somebody who just experimented in their house because it's such a simple thing, but it tastes so different than like a cheeseburger, which is what it kind of is, actually.
But it's weird, if you go way uptown or like downtown, you say, can I get chopped cheese? And they're like, what? Right. Like, but if you get it here, they're like, all right, come right up.
So this is a regional indigenous specialty.
And it's newer, too,
Right.
right? It hasn't been around that long.
I've been everywhere in the world, and I mean just about everywhere in the world that you can think of. As beautiful as many cities around the world are, it's really in your blood, and particularly if you grew up here. You're living in Paris, you're gonna want a chopped cheese sandwich, and you'll be angry that you can't get one. So there it is. A peek, a narrow slice of an old, deep, and noble subject.
Causing your poor existence, the morph into a vicious, remorseless, lost, relentless, illogical compass.
Sitting right there, relatively unexplored, a cross-section of the tasty, original good stuff.
So gritty, I'm grimy. Got my city behind me.
A petri dish for talent, for culture. The great unknown. Go look.
BX, Armageddon.